This place is just so gorgeous. When I'm walking through here, I almost feel like I'm going into my own private little secret garden, and then I'm letting you guys enter with me. But yeah, there are just so many places to explore here, and I'm just so excited to see all of them and actually show you guys a little bit how beautiful and gorgeous this place is. So let's go. Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we have a very special episode. We're actually in Pasadena, and more precisely the Huntington Library and Botanical Gardens, which is one of the most gorgeous places here in Los Angeles. Well, simply because everything is so well kept in this garden. And what I do like about this place is that it's not just one garden, but it's multiple gardens with different themes, such as a desert garden, the Chinese garden, the Japanese garden, and there's actually other gardens that are themed to many other places of the world, such as European gardens and stuff like that, even though they're not called the European gardens. But yeah, it's just such a beautiful place to see and to look at and just to discover, so let's explore. The Huntington Library, Art Museum and Botanical Gardens, known as the Huntington, is a collections-based educational and research institution located in San Marino, California, established by Henry and Arabella Huntington. In addition to the library and an extensive art collection focused on 18th and 19th century European art, the property is surrounded by approximately 120 acres of specialized botanical landscaped gardens. Of course, whenever I see a fountain, I just can't help myself. I have to highlight it. I've mentioned that in other videos, and this is a really gorgeous fountain, and it is in the European style. But what I appreciate about this part of the garden, which is called the Camellia Gardens, is the fact that they have a bunch of statues on the side, and some of them are representing Greek gods, but other statues are actually called allegories, which are like parts of stories or moods of your personality. And I really appreciate that whoever created these statues took the time to name them and to find different moods within the statues, telling stories and making you actually feel very godlike walking through this garden. The Camellia Gardens include nearly 80 different camellia species and some 1,200 cultivated varieties. Most of them are at the peak of their bloom in January and February. In 1910, Henry Huntington began acquiring a large collection of outdoor sculptures, personally deciding on the exact location for each piece of garden statuary. Love is a common theme among the garden sculptures, most of which dates from the late 17th and early 18th centuries and come from various cultural traditions across Europe and beyond. The Tea Rose Garden is yet another garden right here, and what I do appreciate about it is that there are so many different types of roses with so many different types of colors. I'm not going to pretend like I know all the names of the roses. I mean, I just wouldn't be able to memorize all these Latin names, but I must say that I can appreciate all the beautiful colors and all the beautiful smell that is coming out of these roses. And just the fact of walking through this garden makes me so relaxed and so happy to just be here. The Rose Garden was originally created in 1908 for the private enjoyment of Henry and Arabella Huntington. The garden was designed primarily for display, providing copious quantities of cut blooms for the large elaborate floral arrangements favored in their home. Household records indicate that in 1 year alone, more than 30,000 flowers were used in these massive bouquets, 9,700 of which were roses. This is one of my favorite sections of the garden, which is the Japanese garden. And this might be a personal thing simply because I've always been attracted to Japanese culture, but either way, we can't deny it. This place is just beautiful and it's huge. And they even have a bunch of Japanese structures, like a big Japanese building, and then they have a pond filled with fish, and then you can also walk over a really cool looking bridge. And what I do appreciate about this section of the garden is that when you're walking through it, you almost feel like you're in feudal Japan, walking in the past and discovering this really pristine and super well kept garden. For over a century, the historic Japanese garden has been one of the most beloved and iconic landscapes at the Huntington, with its distinctive moon bridge, picture postcard views of koi-filled ponds, and the historic Japanese house. Isn't this cool? When you're actually walking through the garden, there are a bunch of koi fish in the pond. Of course, you're not allowed to feed them, but you are able to appreciate them. I must say, they look so grand and beautiful. To put it in simple words, the Japanese garden is a magical place, intimate and inspiring, which really highlights the unique landscape traditions, craftsmanship, horticulture, and rituals of Japanese culture. You see, I wasn't kidding when I said that this place is just gorgeous. And when you're walking through these gardens, it does feel like you're in old feudal Japan. And me, myself, being such a big fan of movies like Back to the Future and time travel, being able to walk in a place that feels like olden times is just so cool. And on a plus, well, the nature is just so gorgeous. So I guess let's keep on exploring. Since the institution opened to the public in 1928, the Japanese garden has attracted more than 20 million visitors and remains arguably the most popular spot at the Huntington. One thing that I really appreciate about a Japanese garden is the fact that they actually have a meditation garden. And what I do like about this meditation garden is actually all the shapes that are in the rocks that have been racked in a certain way to form different patterns. But at the same time, what I feel is that it's a sort of metaphor for life, where life is very ephemeral, it's not eternal. So by placing rocks in a certain way where the elements around us, such as rain or walking on it or wind and stuff like that, can change the shape of these rocks, shows how nature and life are pretty much the same, and that even though it is ephemeral, it's still beautiful and gorgeous to watch. In 1968, the Huntington expanded the Japanese garden to include a bonsai collection and Zen court, where displays are rotated throughout the year to highlight seasonal features. I've always been fascinated with bonsais, and I think that this fascination may have started when I was a kid, when I watched the movie Karate Kid 3, when they were opening up a store with bonsais. I just thought that these little trees were just so cool. And if you really look at them, the thing is that bonsais are actually normal trees. It's just that they've planted them in specific pots that have contained them, and because they don't have enough space for their roots to go down, well, the tree only grows a certain height. But this same tree, if it was put in the ground, it would actually become humongous and would become like a normal tree. So yeah, bonsais are just so cool. And the fact that people have been able to discover that if you planted them in a small pot, they only grew a certain height, I think that's kind of cool. Since 1990, the Huntington has served as a Southern California site for the Golden State Bonsai Federation, and trees in the collection now number in the hundreds. Isn't this cool? They actually have a bamboo path here in the park, and I really love bamboos because they are this kind of tree that is so tenacious and strong, and at the same time, well, when you plant one, it starts out so small, and then within a year it just grows to be so big. And because of that, I think that many cultures and many places in the world have used bamboos to just do so many things because of its versatility, from the fact that it is strong and sturdy, but also from the fact that it grows so fast. Oh gosh, I think that I may have taken a wrong turn. It looks like I'm in the middle of the jungle, and I'm a little bit scared. But actually, honestly, this is actually the jungle garden right here, and it is really cool because they have so many plants that you would just not expect to see in California. And actually, I really don't even know how they upkeep them because they must require probably a lot of water. But it is beautiful to be going through all these pathways and seeing all the sun covered by the plants. And then they also have waterfalls and water. And again, as things go in this park, it's just beautiful and gorgeous and super well kept. The jungle garden features a high forest canopy, an understory of trees and shrubs, climbing vines, and leaves of giant proportions. The canopies of tall trees protect the plants below that are sensitive to frost and sun. On a cool note, there are many vines which are climbing the trees to reach the light. These lianas are climbing plants characteristic of tropical forests. Definitely out of all of the gardens that I've seen here today, the Chinese garden is the most impressive. It's just huge. It just goes on and on and on. They have a bunch of different buildings with a bunch of different sculptures in wood and stone. There's waterfalls. There's a lot of water all around here with the ponds and the lilies and all these beautiful things. And as I've mentioned before, when you do come to these different gardens, well, they are showing plants from different parts of the world. So it is as if you are traveling. And that's a nice little perk when you come to a park in LA. I wasn't expecting to travel today, but I guess I'm going all over the world. Liufang Yuan, or the Garden of Flowing Fragrance, is one of the finest classical-style Chinese gardens outside of China. Filled with Chinese plants and framed by exquisite architecture, the landscape is enriched with references to literature and art. Look at this place. I wasn't kidding when I said that the Chinese garden just keeps on going on and on forever. This place is just huge. As you can tell, the water here is beautiful. The ponds are big. There's so many structures. There's so much nature around me. And just walking through all of this, I just feel so blessed. This garden is inspired by the Garden of Suzhou, a city located near Shanghai in southeastern China. Most importantly, the garden has been designed to respect its natural locale. Look at how detailed all of these carvings are. They've put so much detail in this garden. It's just beautiful to see all this wood that is sculpted and all the sculptures that are around here, and just really, again, all the level of detail and love that they've put into making everything look so beautiful. Like all Suzhou-style gardens, Yuan is filled with text. Every pavilion and courtyard bears a name in Chinese characters. The entrances to some buildings are also adorned with poetic couplets. These calligraphic inscriptions were written by more than 30 contemporary artists from mainland China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, the United States, and the United Kingdom. Now, this is a very interesting piece of artwork behind me. It's called Embroidered Cloud, and I'm not really sure what it's supposed to represent. Oh, obviously, there is cloud in the title of this art piece, so I think that it is supposed to represent the cloud, but I just think it's so beautiful, surrounded by these bonsai trees and the blue sky above me. And even though I'm not a specialist of artwork, whenever I do see art pieces around me, I always try to highlight them, simply because I feel that artwork and art pieces, sculptures, paintings always make places look even more special than they are. Rocks are an essential feature of the Suzhou Gardens. The stones found throughout Yuan are a type of limestone traditionally harvested from the bed of Lake Tai near Suzhou. Today they are quarried in various regions of China. Walking through all these gardens literally is like going through every continent on Earth. And the garden that I'm at right now is the desert garden. And I must say it is really beautiful. I love seeing all these cacti and all these plants that you would encounter in the desert. But at the same time, I must admit that it is a super hot day here in Los Angeles, and the sun is hitting so hard and it's just making me so thirsty. But I will do my best to walk through the desert and make it out alive. The Huntington Desert Garden is one of the largest and oldest assemblages of cacti and other succulents in the world. The desert garden features more than 2,000 species of succulents and desert plants in 60 landscaped beds. Many plants are labeled with their name and country of origin. Most of these plants retain water in their leaves, stems, or roots and protect themselves with sharp spines or thorns, and some have waxy or woolly protective coverings to reflect sunlight and decrease water loss. Well, okay, that's it. This concludes my tour of the Botanical Gardens here in Pasadena. I hope that you guys enjoyed going through all these different types of gardens, and as I mentioned it many times, going through all the continents of the world. And if you did enjoy this video, well, please be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, maybe leave me a comment too. I know that there's other parts of this garden that I did not actually visit. Unfortunately, it's just so big and there's just so many things to discover. So if I did forget a place and it is your favorite place, I'm sorry. Either way, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.